Hello, America. Dave Hodges here, host of the Common Sense Show. We are the show that's freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. Thank you so much for joining us. Really good to be with you. And listen, we're here to help you, to help us, to help each other, to save our country. Why? So we can have a better life. So our kids won't live in a shithole and they'll have something to be proud of. Right now, we're a morally reprobate nation. We're communists in action, where the rule of law means nothing. We live in a tin-horned third world dictatorship, and this is exactly how it is. We're moving into a corporatocracy. Oh, yeah. Did you see Biden when he was asked about Maui? No comment. He was totally baffled. He didn't even know. That's my assessment. By the way, I used to teach body language, so this is an idle speculation. Anyway, we are going to cover the major psychological reason why people are not standing up to take America back. And I think once you understand that reason, you can isolate people in one-on-one discussions, small group discussions, and they can't escape. They can't escape. When you send out the videos, maybe you could follow up with an occasional email. You can't do every one. That's not practical. But occasionally, just say, hey, did you see the video? Here are my takeaways. What are yours? Look forward to seeing it. I'll forward your answers to Dave Hodges. Yeah, I'll be happy to deal with that. So here's the deal. We are brought to you by Noble Gold. And this is so important right now. And I'm not going to go into great detail. I'll just say this. Your money is at risk in the bank because the Dodd-Frank Law 2010 says they can keep it. CBDCs come in, the problem even gets worse and complete. You need to extricate your retirement from the bank. You need to extricate a lot of your funds from the bank, and you need to go precious metals, and you need to back up your retirement with gold that you control. Noble Gold can do all that for you and more. They're the best there is. The federal government wants me to tell you that all investments are risky. A lot of this isn't investments. It's moving money from one asset to another, but we'll give the warning here. All investments are risky and nothing is ever guaranteed. Okay, I'm going to say this. I've been advertising for Noble Gold for 6 years. I've been a customer for 5. And I'm just telling you right now, I want to send you a free information packet that describes exactly how you can get this done. Go to davehodgesgold.com. That's davehodgesgold.com. I'll rush that out to you, but you don't have a lot of time. You're racing the clock against world events and CBDC. Once certain things happen, there's no turning back. This is really, we're in the last days of being able to rescue our finances. So davehodgesgold.com, davehodgesgold.com. You can call them also too at 877-646-5347, 877-646-5347. All right. So why aren't more people standing up and getting out there among the public and just saying, hey, this really sucks. This is ridiculous what's going on. And we're going to stop it right here and right now. And people start taking the lead, even if it's just sharing videos, even if it's just going next door. Hey, do you see what's going on, Martha? Bill, do you see what's happening here? What do you think we can do? Or talking to your church pastor. I mean, all we need to do is play the telephone game. 2 becomes 4, becomes 16. Okay, you get the idea. And once we reach a 10% threshold in this country where people are committed to change, the research in social psychology tells us things explode. So what prevents that from happening? Well, there's a lot of different answers, but one of the main factors is what we refer to as bystander apathy. And I've mentioned this through the years in passing. It's now time for me to break this down. People have always asked the question, why don't good people do something when evil happens? Now, I'm not telling you to risk your life. I don't think you should necessarily put your job at risk. I really don't. But I'm telling you, you can do things that don't endanger you and your family financially, okay, emotionally, physically, in terms of finances, fiscal responsibility. You can do things. But why don't people do it? Well, I mentioned this the other day, and I'll use the example again. Social psychologists back in the 60s did research on helping behavior. When are people more likely to assist? And there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the ones we know is the ability to remain anonymous actually helps facilitate no behavior. no change, no intervention. So what they did in New York City, they had a guy collapse, fake a heart attack, drop on the street. And they wanted to figure out how many people, percentage of people passing by. And honestly, you could be an 88-year-old grandmother with a walker coming down the street, see a guy on the street and look at it, you call 911. That's helping behavior. But they didn't even get that. Now, this is the 60s before cell phones. But they've done experiments since then, and the results are remarkably similar. What they find in these large cities like New York and Chicago and LA is that helping behavior is rare. If there's lots of people, it's very, very, very rare. Why? Because he'll do it. They'll do it. I don't have to get involved. I don't have to take the time from my busy schedule. I don't have to emotionally invest in something. I don't have to take some unknown risk. I don't know how this is going to come back to me. And so people tell themselves this. And what they found in the principle is this. It's like farting in the elevator. You got 10 people in an elevator, and someone just lets out with okay, and I'm not trying to be too graphic here, but they're not sure who did it, especially if it's an SBD, as George Carlin used to say, silent but deadly. And people are looking around, and you're looking around even though you were the one. But if there's only 2 people in the elevator, both people know. So they did the same experiment in New York. What they found was you could go hours before someone would help. Go to a mid-sized and a small town. What they found is the smaller the number of people, the more likely they were to render behavior. And I'm going to make a comment here about Maui. Maui really represents this. Have you seen the stories about federal government missing in action, county government of Maui missing in action, state government of Hawaii missing in action? The governor of Hawaii should be in the Biden administration. He'd fit right in. So we have seen this, but who's helping to save lives and rescue people? It's fellow citizens. Lahaina is a town of about 13, or was a town of 13,000 people. That population number is going to reduce dramatically. But these people, small community, a lot of them know each other. They're accountable to each other, and they're engaged in tremendous helping behavior. Teachers really took the lead on day one. When no one was showing up to help, they helped, they organized, they got people. It was tremendous what we saw. But just average, everyday people. Federal government's an impediment. They're blocking life-saving medication. You're hearing the testimonies from the locals on YouTube right now talking about this. I covered this earlier today. So what we know is a small community like Lahaina is pulling together as best they can in the wake of devastation. If this event happened in LA, you wouldn't see nearly the high percentage of citizen participation with them helping each other. The anonymity factor, because of large numbers, would take over. The way to get people involved and help is to isolate in small groups. When I fought my property rights battle against the McCain Mafia, they wanted to force us off our land over time. We had a number of people helping us. We had as many as 300 people involved, and we only had 300 families. So it was pretty good penetration, but we couldn't have one big group. So we divided up into committees early on to get organized. And the committees couldn't be over 5 people. When you really have 5 people, you have to hire a 6th to supervise. Your most ideal group is 4. So your one-on-one conversation, I'm only reaching one person. Multiply the effect. If you talk to one person 10 times over the course of 2 weeks, you might be reaching 1,000 people. You can't underestimate what you're doing. This is why you say, share a video for what good it'll do. It could do a lot of good. It could do a lot of good. We need to overcome bystander apathy. And remember, small groups is where it's at. Now, I don't have that option right here, but if you've noticed on these Maui posts, I've been going in and being a little more active and responding to comments because it's the one-to-one factor. And I'm hoping that little nudge will say, okay, I'm going to do something. And this is what we need to be doing. There's a silver lining that can come out of Maui in the midst of this horrible tragedy that I hope sincerely you pray to the Lord Jesus and you say, God, please bestow your blessings on these people. Help their hearts heal. help them recover the lives they had, help them deal with their lost friends and family members, their lost community. The grief is on multiple levels for these people. It's bad enough when we lose a loved one. They're losing more than a loved one. They have tragedy piled upon tragedy upon tragedy. And this is psychologically devastating. And they need to know we're behind them. And there is that invisible power of prayer. So yes, we do need to be doing that. But the reality is too, is we can also send money to local charities. Don't send it to the Red Cross. Don't send it to anything national. Make damn good and sure that you're promoting organizations that are actually doing good. Watch YouTube, watch what the people are saying about the groups, and then help support those groups. This is one of the things that my wife right now is involved in doing as we continue to seek out charities that we know the money is going to get in the hands of the people. And so we really encourage you to do this. But in terms of becoming active, the silver lining could be this. If we could mobilize this country, which we should be doing to help these people, but they also could become the poster child for this government hates America. This government, especially the Biden administration, is about the destruction of America. It's purposeful, it's willful, and it's intentional. And you can't name anything they're doing right. There's nothing that benefits the American people. Everything they do takes away. Now they're costing lives. We've heard people on YouTube, the locals, they're saying, gee, we're not getting life-saving medication. FEMA and the Red Cross are intercepting it. And if it's not from them, they won't let it go through. Ignore them. Continue to supply these people as best you can. Ignore them. They're an impediment to recovery. All I got to do is say Katrina, Hurricane Harvey. I don't need to go any further than this. These organizations do not do their job. Maybe they're underfunded, they're undermanned. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for them, but the best charity are the locals, what the people are doing now. So here's the deal. They could become the symbol of government tyranny, and it could be a mobilization factor that wakes up the country so we can move forward and make positive change, knowing really who and what we're dealing with. That's a silver lining. Believe me, if I could take away this event, I don't need the silver lining. But because the event has happened, I think we need to learn how we can best help these people, but also make these people a symbol for the courage they are. America's still a great nation. Americans helping Americans, very resilient in the town of Lahaina. We also look at the government indifference, the lack of empathy for the people. This could be a mobilization factor. And I've given you some talking points that you can do with small groups of people, one-on-one, one-on-three, your family, get your family doing this, and continue to put pressure on Congress. Why aren't we hearing people in Congress stand up and call out the BS that FEMA and the Red Cross are accused of doing by the locals on YouTube? Why aren't they saying anything? They don't deserve to be in office. They don't deserve to be there. They're there to serve the people, but they serve their own pockets. So like Nancy Pelosi can retire and she's made almost $200 million above and beyond her salary. Insider trading is the major reason. It's a criminal act. I don't care if they legitimized it for Congress. It's a criminal act. And what they're doing with depraved indifference towards the people of Lahaina is also a criminal act. Jump on these people's butts hard, but let's stay in support. But let's use this as a symbol for what's wrong and what needs to change. That's it for the Common Sense Show. Please share this far and wide. Thumbs up, like us. Make sure you become a member of what we do really well. In-depth documentaries. Here we do the news. There we do in-depth documentaries. Basically, we're grappling with stuff we've never dealt with before as a nation. We've never seen this kind of treason and just open prostitution on the parts of the members of Congress with regard to the way they're conducting themselves professionally and politically. We've never dealt with this, and we are helping people deal with it with our panel of experts. It's worth the price of admission, which is the cost of bandwidth. Unfortunately, our bandwidth cost has gone up pretty dramatically, as have our administrative holding costs. And so we've got to increase our prices, but we're going to hold the prices steady until September 1st. So anybody that wants to get in will be grandfathered in, and that'll be your permanent rate. For our existing customers, you're in. You're never going to have to do anything but just renew, but you'll renew at your present rate. But for the new ones coming in, we need to have help, because we cannot take a huge loss on this. Okay, we don't have the resources to take a huge loss. I don't get to operate my income and my economy based on deficit spending that the Democrats do. TheCommonSenseShow.tv, sign up today.